Hello, everyone. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Obviously, we're discussing the firing of Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. I've gotten a lot of emails and questions. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Yes, but I want to give you the caveat why. Not only was I surprised, but those of us that are the beat writers were surprised. Adam Schefter was because of the enormity of the contract that was remaining. We were continually being told that was the stability of the franchise was what Mark Davis wanted, and not having the contracts on the books. But I just moments ago got off the phone trying to get details from within the organization of what if there was a straw that broke the camel's back. And what I was told was that in Davis's mind, there was no way to even see a course moving forward. You could see things that McDaniels wanted to do. You could see those, but there was no confidence in the ability to be able to get there, and the decision was made. Where, of course, Antonio Pierce, the linebackers coach, has been elevated to the interim coach. Several people have asked me, do we, meaning Raider Nation, think that there'll be a coach hired before? And I can tell you, no, they're going to go through the search process all the way through to the end. They're going to be comprehensive, and then they would like to name a coach at the end of the year. Now, staying on this point, getting into what were some of the things that made the ownership feel like there is no hope at the end of this tunnel. There were several things that went into that. First of all, there was a sense, and I apologize, I am going to have my phone because if I'm getting updates that I can pass on to you, I will. All right, that will not work. I can't do that, and I can't give that one to you. I apologize. And so what's happening is there just seemed to be a sense of, okay, you've explained to me the plan, you've explained to me where you're going, and he believed in them, or he wouldn't have hired them. But it just seemed to be there was no hope that we can get. I like where you want to go. There's no hope that we can get there. And it was a decision that the owner made and was absolutely within his purview. I had just a few weeks ago been asked, what's the percentage chance? And I said 5%, because I had been emphatically informed there wasn't going to be a change, but that's why you always leave that percentage. Moving forward for the Raiders, I think there are lots of things that you have to ask yourself about this season. There are lots of things you have to ask yourself. I mean, there are still 9 games remaining. This is not a dead scenario. This is not a season that's over. This is not a team now that just can't find a resurgence. This is not a team right now that can't still do something with the season. I think that's very important for people to remember. And when they saw them with their guy, Jimmy, to stick with Jimmy in the last game and not move off of it, I think there was great frustration. There was, great, okay, well, if this is who you think's our best chance and you don't think our rookie gives us a chance, then where is our hope? Because he's on our books. I know that the contract for Jimmy and then Jimmy's production was a huge deal looking forward and looking down the road for the Raiders. I think this was a bold move by Mark Davis. It's one that I know he did not want to make, but it's one that was the right move to make, and he made it. I think this says a couple things about Mark Davis that I would like to get into with you this morning or today, whenever you're watching this. Number one, I think it shows that he's willing to move away. He's not stubborn when he realizes a mistake's been made. Now, several people ask me, is he going to get fired? Is he going to get fired? Is he going to get fired? And remember, my job is not to report to you the new to create news. My job is to report the news. And all of us as a group, including Adam Schefter yesterday on ESPN, no, he's not getting fired. So it shows this about Mark. All right, it's not all about saving face with me. It's about winning. So I think this is one of the moves where he's showing a little bit of his dad coming through, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. I think this is although I know today is a disappointing day for Mark Davis. This isn't something he wanted to do. I believe that it is also a good day for him as an owner. He's making a statement. Yep, I'm a businessman. Yep, I am bold. Yep, I'm willing to go get guys and do what I need to do. All of that's true. But he's also willing to change his direction, to change his course, to change his mind. And after the game, the enormity of the pressure. I was told that yesterday, the enormity of the pressure nationally, that, what is this guy doing? What is this guy doing? The volatility of frustrated players, that he came down and said, listen, I'm going to do this. So I think, first of all, you have to applaud Mark Davis, because it was something that clearly for this year you knew wasn't going to work. But obviously it was changing, and it was getting to a point where his view of the future was affected. So that's number one. I think you got to praise Mark there. Number two, it confirms what we've been telling you all along, that this is not the team that was in Oakland. They have the cash and the financial resources to do what they needed to do, and they're willing to use those resources. That's another thing. There's a lot of owners that sit on a lot of money that have a reputation of not willing to do things. The Bengals won. And you don't necessarily think of the Bengals of being a team flush in cash, but they've got a lot of resources, and they are known to be traditionally cheap in the NFL. Now, I'm sure they would argue with that. I'm just telling you what the belief is. But the Raiders, when they were in Oakland, they were that way. But since they've been in Las Vegas, that's not the situation, and they move on. Third, a lot of people would ask me continually is, can we get rid of Josh McDaniels and keep Dave Ziegler? That's going to happen. Now, you need to understand a couple of things. Number one, Josh McDaniels was hired, and oh, by the way, I'll come, but this is the GM that I want. I've reported this before, but they were tied together. There was no separating of the two. Dave Ziegler got his job because of Josh McDaniels. So it is what it is. And that's how the whole situation fell out. They were a package deal, and the package is no longer viable. And so you find here they are after a year and 8 games that a change been made for the Raiders. Now you begin to look forward to, what are the potentials? What's the direction of this franchise? Where is this franchise going to go? What is this franchise going to do? What is this franchise going to develop and evolve into? This is very, very important. I know there are a lot of different beliefs, but you can't be a Raider team and not be an offensive threat. Now, you could be a team that runs a lot of play action and running the ball, but there's got to be the attack downfield. I want to go back very quickly to the Lions game, where even though the Raiders didn't get over 100 yards, it was one of their best rushing attacks. And after the game, the Raiders even said, the Lions even talked about, we had to change our defense a little bit when they took some shots. Now, Jimmy wasn't accurate, wasn't even close to accurate. But when they took their shots, that's when the Lions had to change. So they're going to have to be more of an offensive juggernaut. There are a lot of names already swirling. I am going to get into that later, because there's nothing going to be made to the end of the year. But Antonio Price, the linebackers coach, will now take over as the interim head coach. I think this is a guy who's a former player. I know his players responded to him very well. I think he's done very well with the linebackers, by the way. And I think he is going to be able to get this team to rally. Let's see how this team operates. Will they rally behind him? I think there's a good chance of that. Absolutely. I got an email just shortly ago, just literally before taping. Someone says, "Do you think that the New England players who are loyal to Josh will rally behind the next coach?" Yeah, of course I do. They're professionals and they want to win. They will want to win. So again, that's where all of this comes down to. That's where all of this resonates. GM Dave Ziegler, head coach Josh McDaniels are out, and now they move on with Antonio Pierce. The coaching search will begin. It will be thorough. It will be comprehensive, but don't expect anything until after the year. Looking forward, the Raiders have to get somebody who has an offensive attack style. That's this team. That's the way they are at Allegiant Stadium. There are going to be several names that are going to come up. I think obviously one name is going to be uh, the Lions offensive coordinator, but there's going to be several. There's going to be several names that are brought in. Who will Mark Davis use this time to help him through the selection process? So many things are going to go into this. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest news, other than Dave and Josh being let go, is the boldness of Mark Davis, willing to move off of where he wanted to go when he was finally thoroughly convinced that where I know that where you say you want to go, and I want to go there, but I'm not convinced you can get us there. The boldness of Mark Davis would be this. I think the fans who often criticize Davis need to use today as an opportunity to maybe give him his props and kudos. He made the decision. He went with it. He worked it, and it happened. Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels are out. Antonio Pierce is in. Now, I want to talk about general manager for a minute because Champ Kelly, who y'all know I very much like, who I'm going to be doing an interview with in the bye week. But Champ Kelly is the late Raiders. He's been promoted. He's going to be doing the general managership duties for now. This is a man that interviewed for the job originally. This is a man extremely respected around the National Football League. Very, very well respected. This is a person who genuinely should have a legitimate shot at the general manager's job. This is going to be very interesting to watch. I think that Mark Davis could not have done a better job than putting Champ Kelly in that role. I think Antonio Pierce in that role was a very wise decision. Very, very wise decision. Pierce is a guy who is fiery, very strong. He's a guy that's not going to be afraid to say, I know I'm the interim guy. I'm going to lead. And he's going to have a Champ Kelly there in that GM seat, who deserves that seat, by the way. So do I think the Raiders are in a good place? I think the Raiders are in the best place that they can absolutely be right now. Kelly in that chair, Pierce sitting in that head coach's chair, I think absolutely is going to give them. Now it's a chance of rally. There's going to be a meeting later today. It's going to be, well, depending when you see it, may have already happened. This is a chance for them to rally. This is a chance for them to get behind where this thing is going and make some really key adjustments, and for everyone involved to show what their future with this organization is going to be. I think that's going to be a big seller, a very big seller, is let's show where this organization can go over these next 9 weeks. So that's the latest on the Raiders. I will be doing podcasts when updates are necessary and available. Mark Davis makes the bold move. He does what he did not want to do because he was convinced we cannot get where we want to get. Bold move, good move. I think he dispels the rumors about cash. I think he dispels the rumors about, he doesn't care. Clearly he does. And he'd seen enough. From Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network, this is Hondo Carpenter. We'll see you soon.